welcome to our video on Kabbalah secrets of the three veils of negative existence, the Norse Goddess Hel, the Elohim, and the Melekim. I'm Pastor Rosemary, and this is Pastor Rosemary's Final Prophecy Watch. Now, the Goddess Hel, spelled H-E-L, with capital H-E-L, is a cold, dispassionate Norse goddess who cares not for the concerns of those still living and dead. According to Norse works, such as the Heimskringla, also the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda manuscript, and Gylfaginning, the Norse goddess Hel was elected by one-eyed, all-father god Odin to preside and rule over a realm called Hel. Now, this realm called Hel, this queendom called Hel, it coincided with her name Hel. So the place of Hel and the goddess Hel shared the same name, and it's H-E-L, and it was a frozen place. Now, in Nordic regions, an icy queen and a frozen empire would be an unpleasant location to spend eternity. By contrast, in cultures where water and cool breezes were sparse, a hot place ruled by a horned guy that delighted in roasting guests put in his charge would be thought to be equally disagreeable. The goddess Hel and her namesake, the region of Hel, is best equipped to represent life after death because it is this cold and unfeeling goddess who slowly removes her three veils of negative existence, as she beckons all Vikings who do not die honorably in battle into her domain. Of course, if they died honorably, they go to Valhalla. But they go into her domain if they don't. Okay? And that's Hel. In Christian Kabbalah, taught by authoress Dion Fortune, in her work The Mystical Kabbalah, and also in Jewish Kabbalah and in the Zohar, there are three states of negative existence that begin an unfathomable province culminated in limitless light, becoming conceivable to a human mind at the top of the three supernals. And these three supernal sephiras are, there's Keter is the top, and then you have Chokhmah and Binah, but Keter is at the top. And the three veils of negative existence are three veils up here, above Keter, above where we begin to have some comprehension of this light. Okay? So the three veils that she removes before you go into negative existence are up here. This is as we come into manifestation. Okay, we consider this Hel, but remember, Keter's in Malkut and Malkut is in Keter. So one kind of blends into the other. Now continuing with this, again, so we have Keter is at the top, and the word Keter means it means crown, okay? And that's very similar to the crown chakra in Hinduism. Now, these three veils of negative existence, again, in both Christian Kabbalah and in Jewish Kabbalah, okay, and found in Dion Fortune's work, again, the Mystical Kabbalah, and also in the Jewish work of the Zohar, okay? These three states of negative existence begin, again, in an unfathomable realm. And it finally culminates in the limitless light, okay, of existence. Now, that's not Keter. Keter means crown, but it is Ein Sof, and Ein Sof are, and then Keter. And we'll get into that in a moment, okay? Okay. Now, as we get into Keter, we begin to conceive, okay, to a human mind at the top of the three supernal sephira. Again, Keter. And then, again, it's the crown, similar to the crown chakra in Hinduism. Now, from the unfathomable domain of creatrix, the creatrix, okay, who fashioned nothingness and created something out of it, we arrive at Ein. Ein is at the top, A-I-N. Some spell it E-I-N, but it's A-I-N, which means it's a Hebrew word for no thing. It means nothing or no thing. It's not really nothing, it's no thing. There is no thing. Then the second veil would be Ein Sof. Okay, Ein Sof. and Ein Sof represents no space. So no thing, no space. And finally, we enter the realm of the Ein Sof R, above Keter. Okay, Ein Sof R. And R is spelled A-U-R, which means no time, or the limitless light. Okay? No time. Now we attempt to comprehend these three veils of negative existence from all various viewpoints. Okay? And from many and varied angels and varied angles, in a futile attempt and a futile effort to understand what we shall experience upon death of our physical bodies. The physical body is here in the Malkut. This is the Klipot. The Klipot is not really the three veils of negative existence, but again, one leads into another. Malkut is in Keter, and Keter is in Malkut, and of course, this Klipot just means the outer shell of things. Okay, it's what people consider like a shell. It's not really negative existence. Negative existence is a place where there's no thing, no space, no time. In the Klipot, there are some attributes. Okay, like the husk of a coconut would be in Klipot, as opposed to the fruit of the coconut. Okay? Now, so this you see that the Kabbalists were very into it's really physics if you think about it. It's really physics. So anybody who studied Zohar or who studied Kabbalah would be a genius when it comes to physics or quantum mechanics, that kind of thing, because their mind would be conditioned for that. Okay, so we have the Sephirot, the Klipot. These are the Sephirot, and then we have I'm Elohim, and then we have Keter. We have Ein Sof, and Ein Sof R. No thing, no space, no time. As opposed to a thing, space, and time. No thing, no space, no time. Ein Sof R. Ein Sof R. Consider Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, chapter 9, verses 5 to 7 in the Webster's Bible translation. For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything. No thing, not anything. That was an aside by me. Again, for the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything. Neither have they any more a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love and their hatred and their envy, their envy hath now perished. Neither have they any more a portion forever in anything that is done under the sun. Under the sun. Go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with a merry heart. For God now accepteth thy works. Continuing, resurrection is found in Isaiah, in the Old Testament, in chapter 26, verse 9, in the Webster Bible translation, thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Okay, so that's the end of that Isaiah 26:19. Now that's the resurrection according to the Old Testament. Okay, Tanakh. Okay? Now also we find in Daniel, the book of Daniel in the Old Testament, in chapter 12, verse 2 in the Webster Bible translation, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. That's the end of that portion of Daniel. Now continuing, this final state of being has nothing to do with bodily functions that we know in this physical body. It has nothing to do with the physical realm or any of the senses of the physical realm. It has nothing to do with it. Okay? Nothing to do with the physical realm. Now consider that the entire Old Testament, and therefore the New Testament, stems from Genesis, the book of Genesis, and from the first sentence in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 in the Webster Bible translation. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Okay, now we're done with that, Genesis 1:1. Okay? And we're continuing now. The Hebrew word translated into English as the word God, the true Hebrew word, is Elohim. Elohim. Okay? It is the Elohim, which are a Venusian order of angels. Venusian order of angels. Venusian means from Venus, the planet Venus, which is the quality, the attribute of God located in the Sephirah of Net-sack here. Okay? That's where you find the Elohim from the Venusian Sephirah of Net-sack and Kabbalah, from the Sephirah of Net-sack, where you find the planet Venus and you find the goddess Aphrodite and you find the goddess Venus, okay? Associated again with these goddesses, Aphrodite, Venus, and with copper and with the number 7 and with the rose, okay? Those are the things you find there on the planet Venus in Net-sack, okay? The number here is 777 because it is in the 7th Sephirah. Again, the color is green, okay? The color of patina, which covers corrupted copper, since copper is the metal associated with the Sephirah of Net-sack. And we're talking about medicine of metals and how you get to, and physical alchemy, how the metal you use to make alchemical elixirs which cause a youthful appearance. Now, Jesus Christ represents the Sephirah of Taif-feret, okay, Taif-feret, which is associated with all sun gods. The colors of yellow and gold and the metal gold. And the solar logos being 666 because this is the 6th Sephirah of Taif-feret, which means harmony. Okay, it's harmony and beauty and all that kind of love and all, where the sun gods, Jesus is a sun god, where they're found. It represents brotherly love or agape love. In Greek, it's called agape love, as opposed to eros in Greek, which means sexual love, found in the Sephirah of Net-sack. So, eros is found in the Sephirah of Net-sack, Venus, Aphrodite. Then you have the sun gods, like Mithra or Jesus Christ, Ra of Egypt. These sun gods are found in the Sephirah of Taif-feret, where the heart chakra is. Okay? Taif-feret. Now, this is why you have, therefore, the word God of the Old Testament is the Elohim order of angels. So in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, the true Hebrew word is not God. It is not one person. It is the Elohim, which is a plural word. Elohim is plural and has both masculine and feminine qualities to it. Okay? Now, the Elohim are an order of angels found where? In Net-sack. Okay? Found in Net-sack. And again, this is the Elohim order of angels. While an important esoteric secret is that the God, invisible or hidden all-father, sounds familiar like Odin, of Christ, is the angelic order of who? The Melekim. The Melekim. So the God, if you're using another book, not the Bible, the Old Testament, it is the Elohim. So in the Elohim in the Bible, the Tanakh, God is Elohim from Net-sack. 777. Everything associated with Net-sack. And copper is what? Corruptible. Copper is corruptible. And the sexual love. The body corrupts, and there's regeneration, and there's reproduction, and there is another child. There's a child, and then there's death, and there's a child. So you have birth and death, and all of that. Okay. Now, if you there's other forms of scriptures and writings where you have God is the Melekim. The word God is the Melekim order of angels. And the Melekim is found here in Taif-feret, the heart chakra, where you have Jesus Christ and the sun god Ra and Mithra. You have the sun gods. Okay? So you see the difference. Now, and that is the invisible or hidden all-Father of Christ. Okay? And the Gnostics know that. That is not Yaldabaoth. That is above. That is a true Father of Jesus, of Christ. It's the all-Father. Okay? This is why what those who travel both up and down to the heart chakra. Some adepts want to go all the way up and then they come back down to the heart. Some want to come all the way up and go to the heart, go to the right, go to the left, go back to the heart. Going back to the heart is always important. And why? We're going to tell you why now. This is why those who travel both up and down to the heart chakra, to the Sefer of Taif-feret, will arise in an immortal body of light that only has the sensation of giving. And for that reason continuously experiences the best of all perceptions, which is similar in intention to that of giving wonderful gifts to those whom you love on Christmas morning. In the book of Matthew, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, verse 11, in the Webster Bible translation, and when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasure, they presented to him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. Okay, that's the end of that, of that, talking about Matthew 2:11. Now we're going to continue with an explanation, a Kabbalistic explanation. The shame and everlasting contempt quoted earlier in this presentation, which we quoted from Daniel 12:2 from Webster's Bible translation, are those who will not give. People who insist upon only taking, such as experienced in this Venusian state of being, which was created by the Elohim in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 in the Tanakh. Now, by contrast, those who rise to the solar aspect of the Kabbalistic tree of life and completely give of themselves, as did Jesus of Nazareth, who was he was shamed. He was shamed naked on the cross and became a sin offering, a sacrifice for transgressors in this Venusian-made world. She or he will be risen and awakened to everlasting life when the new heaven and the new earth are made by the Melekim. The world to come, the new world. And what do we find in Taif-feret? We find gold. And gold is what? It is indestructible. It is immortal. It is eternal. It is pure. It is not corruptible. It does not corrode. The cross of corrosion cannot affect it. The cross of corrosion cannot affect it. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21 in the Webster Bible translation, for he hath made him to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be the righteousness, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. Okay, so what we're saying here, what 2 Corinthians 5:21 is saying, that basically the sin, let me just make an aside here. Sin, the word sin is the Mesopotamian god of the moon. Sin. It's also the Hebrew letter shin, which means tooth, and judgment. And the moon is changeable. So the Mesopotamian god sin is changeable. The sun god is not changeable. He's always the same. Just always with the same giving energy of the sun. Okay? Now, if we're going to read this again. For he hath made him to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. Jesus Christ on the cross of corrosion does not corrode, does not know corruption. He rises from the dead because he is not of the Elohim Father. He is of the Melekim Father. Okay? That hidden Father. Now, moving on to Revelation chapter 21, verse 1 in the New Heart English Bible. I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the new earth have passed away, and the sea is no more. So remember, here in Taif-feret, the heart chakra, we have gold. The number 666, the solar logos. 666. And that's because it's about the heart and the heart chakra and characteristics of the heart. 666. It also has to do with again, gold. Incorruptible, immortal, all precious gold that cannot die. And that seed of gold, which then, in the alchemical secret, continues to remake itself, because all it does is give. Thank you for joining us. This is Pastor Rosemary's Final Prophecy Watch, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again.